Health Alert is brought to you by OU Physicians in Tulsa. Hello, welcome to Health Alert. I'm Pam Butler. Today I'm at the American Red Cross in Tulsa, and joining me to talk about babysitting boot camp is Heather Nash, Health Education Coordinator. Welcome to the program.
Hi, how you doing?
I am fine. This is really exciting about a babysitting boot camp. Now, why should people, parents or those who are looking for babysitters or wanting to babysit, why should they consider a babysitting boot camp? I mean, we keep kids all the time, right?
Yes, and that's the way parents think, that just because they keep kids, or the big sisters and brothers are keeping kids that they already know. A lot of times parents don't realize that their kids may not know something if they find themselves in an emergency situation. And so babysitting boot camp helps in that effort. We do a lot of things that really people don't think are important when you're babysitting, but they actually are. And you really don't know that until you get into the training and realize, oh, I never thought about it that way.
Okay, now how young can people be to participate in this babysitting boot camp?
Babysitting boot camp is designed for ages 11 to 15. Okay. Depending on where you live, what state, the county, and all of that kind of determines when a kid could be left at home by themselves. But for the most part, our training is geared toward people between the ages of 11 and 15 years old. We can take them a little younger. They can still participate in the class, but we recommend that it's 11 to 15 years.
Okay, now some people may be thinking, when you say 11, an 11-year-old, are there sort of recommendations that you know about in general as far as what age child they should be able to babysit for? Because you may find people who have a small infant, should they really consider an 11-year-old even if they go through such a program as this?
I think an 11-year-old is maybe based on the maturity of the child, and also the parent or that family that's looking to get a babysitter. They may not want somebody 11, or they may not want somebody 14. They may want somebody 15, 16, 17. It just depends on that family and the kid, and that child, and how mature they are in taking care of an infant.
Okay, which is a really, I think, critical point you make, is looking at the maturity level of the babysitter as well, because you could have someone who's 15 or 16 who may not be quite as mature as someone who's 11 or 12, just
True.
Depending. So you might want to look at that as you say, what age child do I have and who should be considered for that kind of job?
Exactly.
Okay.
True.
Okay. Now, when they come to babysitting boot camp, what are some of the first kinds of introductory things that is discussed or presented with them?
When they first come into babysitting boot camp, the first thing they're going to do is probably get they're going to play a game, and game for introductions, because we usually get a lot of kids to come. They'll also get this backpack, and in the backpack they will have a first aid kit, a pen, and a chart to kind of chart information, or a calendar. And then they have the pen and a flashlight. And then we also give them a book. And this book is the manual that we actually train them off of. We also have our babysitting training emergency reference guide that they can use, that they can always keep in their backpack. And then we'll have the CD-ROM that we give to them. And on that CD-ROM, they'll have one of the big things that I like about the babysitting program is that it encourages kids to become entrepreneurs to a degree. They we help them develop business skills, leadership skills, emergency training. And on that template, they offer, we have on the CD-ROM, sorry, there's a template for creating your own business card and resume that you can take when you go on an interview with a family. They also have a checklist of information you need to ask a family. It tells you what you need to ask your parents when you're looking for a job, because that's one of the most important things. Will my parents let me babysit for these people?
Okay, now when you think about that, and you were talking about that kind of information, one question that I have several here, but with the resume, for instance, well, what if you have an 11 or 12-year-old and they're like, I don't have anything to put on a resume? How do you help them kind of narrow that and focus that you really do, and what types of things would they put on a resume?
I had a little girl about 2 months ago. She said, I've never worked. What am I going to put on a resume?
Exactly.
And I said, you told me in the beginning that you've watched your brothers and sisters. I have, and I said, well, then you can start with that. You've watched your brothers and sisters. We can help build from that. You just having a resume to me sometimes just means that you look organized and you're prepared to become a babysitter. And so sometimes that's impressive to a family who's looking for somebody to take care of their kids. You have something to give them, even if it's just your name and address and your parents and reference about your character.
And that also helps them as they're growing and getting jobs and things to actually build that and know what that's going to be like when they get to the point where they're having other kinds of jobs or as they progress through school and work experiences. So like you're saying, you're sort of helping them focus in early on business skills and writing skills and how to present yourself in a workplace setting in a very professional capacity. That is excellent. I'm going to tell viewers too now, if they hear some announcements or other talking in the background, we are at the Red Cross, and you have a lot of trainings that are going on in other areas, so they may pick up some of that background sort of talk.
Okay.
So yeah, they won't be distracted here. Now, let me ask another question. You talked about the things that they should ask their parents. What kinds of things would they ask their parents in terms of, can I babysit, but are there other things they should discuss with their parent about babysitting?
Who can I babysit for is important. A lot of times you might find a parent who's not real comfortable with somebody. Parents are quick at figuring out somebody might not be the right person for your child to be babysitting for. So asking a parent, can I babysit for these people? How far can I go in babysitting? What's my curfew? Will they be picking me up, or will the person be dropping me off, or will I be walking or riding my bike? Those are things kids need to ask when they're getting ready to prepare to start babysitting. And parents need to be aware of those type of things too, because sometimes parents are not thinking about that either until they're confronted with it. It
happens, right. Yes. Well, what about fee structure? Is that something that the child should talk with the parent about in terms of what should I even think about charging? Is that something that you help them get an idea of in the class? Because if you've never really worked in that capacity or this is your first job, how do you know what to charge?
That's kind of dependent on the child, the parent, and the family that they're going to be babysitting for. I had a little girl ask me in the training, what should I charge? And I said, that's kind of left up to you. I remember when I babysitted, I charged everybody $30 if it was more than 3 hours. And then if it was less than that, I charged them like $7 an hour. I was a kid, and any amount of money mattered to me. I didn't care. So, but it just depends on that child, the parent, and the family that they're going to be working for.
Okay, so it is good to kind of work through that and maybe see what the current rates are for other people, and then be flexible, because you may have a family that needs some distinctions or changes made based on their economic situation.
Exactly.
Okay, one other quick question in terms of the family that you're going to be babysitting for. What kinds of things should the child know to come in and ask that family?
What are your rules? What time do they go to bed? What can they eat or cannot eat? Are they allergic to anything? What are their emergency numbers? Where are they going? Those are things you need to know that night of. Where are they going? What time are they planning on being back? Are they going to take me home? You also need to, another good, cool thing I like about this babysitting program that I never even thought of when I was growing up was in the book, it tells you, you need to have a code word with your parents. Say, for instance, you're at home, you're babysitting at someone else's home, and the arrangements were for the family to bring you home that night, but when they get home, they may have been drinking. Okay. You can call your parent and say, hey, and give a code word, and then mom knows that she needs to pick you up, or dad knows at that point that they need to pick you up. So those are some of the things that I think a kid needs to know about that family, and a mom and a parent needs to know about what they need to do in case of an emergency, and that's an emergency.
Okay, we're going to take a really quick break, Heather, and then we're going to come back and talk about the different components as we see here on the table about babysitting and explore some more about things to keep kids safe even while they're babysitting, other tips, okay?
Okay.
All righty. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.